Alright guys, welcome back. Now the first thing I'm going to fix is the number here with the title. Maybe, the title will be separated by hyphens. And this is very good for SEO because if somebody searches for yet another post, they might end up on our post. Depends on your niche of blog. But yeah, so if you have a number, it's not going to help in any way. So that is why we're gonna see how we can do that. The first thing is we are getting the title anyway, so we just have to modify it so that we can make it into something like a slug. So there is something called Slugify, which is a package which has, this package has some good number of stars, but you can use other packages maybe. So I'm gonna install this like this, and I'm gonna use it. So it says, if you pass the string, it'll slugify already, so it's quite useful. I'm gonna copy this, and I want it here in my home page itself. Now once I get the nodes from the API, here what I want is maybe go through all of them, nodes.map maybe, and then individual node. And what I will do is node dot, I'll call this slug. I'm adding a new property here, node.slug equals slugify node.title, right? Yeah, so in page we have this logged out already. So let me see if the node is changed or slug is added. Yeah, the slug is being added. So slug is kind of what we wanted, so that is good. Now instead of number here, what we can do is we can get the slug and then put the slug here, right? So what happens here is things have changed to slug. The problem is, we don't know how to get this post, right? Now if you just have slug, it can be a little difficult to get the particular discussion. What we want is the number as well. So what I will do is I'll just append that number at the end. Now this will not affect much because you have the title already. It's just that there is at the end there is a number. Now that number is very important for us. So I'll tell you why. Because that's how we are gonna get the post. Now we go back here. It says number, so instead it should be slug. So we'll change that to slug. Now here it would be slug instead of number. Variables, we'll look into that soon enough. What we do here is a const slug or const number. We have the number in the slug itself, so we can do slug dot split by hyphen, and then it will be an array now with all those things. What we want is want to pop the last one, so want to pop so that we get the last one. So let me console log the number. We'll have to go into an article. Okay, now here I think I got 4 here. Yeah, so that should be good. Now everything else can remain the same, I think. And yes, you're getting the post. Now if you go here, we get the particular post. Yep. So there is not much of a difference here. It's just that we made it quite useful for SEO. It's just that there is a number at the end which can be ignored. It won't cause any trouble to the SEO, so you will still have the text in your URL, which is quite good. All right, the next thing we are going to fix is this data being loaded multiple times. Whenever I hover on it, it will keep on loading that particular data. You can remove it maybe by going to app.html and removing this part. It will go away, but we want that because it'll be faster. When you hover on it, it will already load it. What we want is when we hover on, let's say, example post, it should preload it, but when we go to other one and come back to example post, it shouldn't load that again. I mean, it shouldn't make that API request again. So so this can help you in, you know, limiting. I mean, if you have rate limiting in the API, it will not make another request. It will, you know, we should be caching it. So let's see how to do that. So in order to do this, I'm going to move this into an API. So we are going to create an intermediate API, which will be quite simple, which will have caching. So we'll have caching for that, so it won't make multiple requests. So let's see how to do that. So I'm going to go here in the routes. I'm going to create a folder called API. Now, it's not necessary to create this folder. It's better to differentiate between the normal routes and our API routes. Now, what we do is so we have named it article. Maybe it is better to name it something very similar. So I'll do article, and then I'll go inside and create a new folder with the name slug. I'll add .json at the end. Now we will have a server file here, and in server we can do a get method maybe. So export const get equals, let it be asynchronous, and then we want a few things here. So which is, we already know fetch is something we want maybe set headers. Yeah, these two things we would need. We probably also need parameters because the slug, so I'll just have that, and I'll also get it something like this. And here we might get the number itself as the slug, so I'll just do number. So because we're going to pass the number, so I can also rename this to number. So that would be better because we can right away use the number. Okay, now here, so we're going to move whatever we had in here into that. So variables number, so we will already be having it, and this try catch block, so I'll just copy it and paste here. Okay, now here fetcher, so we'll also get the fetcher and the query maybe. Okay, and that's all there. Now we don't return like this, so we'll have to use something else, but we'll see if we are getting the repository before that or discussions before that, right? We'll do that, but in order to, you know, invoke this API, we'll have to make a request from here, right? So we'll do something. So instead of this const, we'll do response equals await fetch. Here we'll in the request we'll make something like /API. That is our, you know, API directory. Inside that article, this article is like not required. You can ignore if you don't want to. You can remove it. The number, we already have the number, so that we are gonna pass, and this can be like, you know, string. It should be all right. And then after number, it's just JSON. So number.json. So we don't return anything. Maybe we return discussion, something like empty here. We'll console the response as well. So I'll have it inside curly braces so that I know the name, and I'll have this in curly braces as well. So let's see what happens. Okay, so I'm thinking discussion is something I'm getting here. I'll have to respond to that. So if I look at here, so I'm getting the discussion, so I'm not getting the response. So that is obvious. So we'll have to send it. So I'll send that return. We want it to send it as a JSON, and we'll send discussion. Right. Now JSON is not imported, so I'll just try to import it. Yes, so this is a method available in Sveltekit. You can also do new response and all those things, but yeah, so I'm going to do this like this. Now here, this response will be 200 now, I think. Let me see. Yeah, it is 200. Now we'll get the data. So const data equals await response dot JSON. So we are like parsing that data here, and we get the data. Okay, so we can just do, instead we can just do discussion and then remove all that, and yeah, that works. Now if you observe, this still happens, right? So it's not going away. So what we just did is, we moved into our own API, that's all. But there is this trick here. So if you remember, I did set headers. So before I send the response, so I'll do set headers, and inside, so what I'll do is I'll change the cache control. So maybe something like this, cache control. Then I can do max age of this request. I can set it to whatever, like maybe let's say I want for 10 minutes. So it's in seconds. So 60 seconds is 1 minute, 600 is 10 minutes. So I'm doing it for 600, right? Okay. If you observe here, it's still not done yet, because so here, instead of page.server in here, we'll have to change it to let me remove everything that is unimportant. We'll have to change this to page.js. Okay, so then it will be able to cache it in the browser. Now if I hover on it, now you see that 1.json is loaded, now 3.json, now this is 4.json. So these are loaded. If I go back again to the example post, you see that it's disk cache, right? So if I check this, so it's coming from the disk cache, and it's not loading it again, the API again. So it's quite useful. All right, this will avoid any like rate limiting you might have on that API. It will also put low load on your server. That's how you solve cache. Now we can do that for the initial load as well. So when we load the page, so we get this list, right? So that can also be solved like this. We'll do that. Maybe I can do that offline, and you can also, like, you'll have the code, you can just update it. So thanks guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.